Welcome to HFY Galaxy Tales. Like this video and subscribe the channel for more HFY stories. Look, I am going to be completely honest with you. When High Commander Vraksh told us we were being deployed to capture a single human female, I laughed. Not a polite chuckle, mind you. A full, belly-shaking, tears-streaming down my face kind of laugh. My name is Quillix, and I have been a tactical analyst for the Galactic Enforcement Coalition for 17 cycles. 17. I have seen species that can breathe plasma. I have catalogued creatures that reproduce by exploding. I once watched a Krellian diplomat eat an entire table during peace negotiations. So when Vraksh stood there, all four of his arms crossed, telling us that this one human required a battalion-level response, I thought he had finally cracked under the pressure. Sir, I said, wiping my eyes, with all due respect, humans are Category 3. They are squishy. They bruise when you poke them too hard. Their bones break if they fall wrong. Are you feeling alright? Do you need medical attention? Vraksh did not smile. He never smiles. He just pulled up the holographic display and showed us the footage. Oh. Oh no. The recording was from Station Gamma 9, a mining outpost on the edge of contested space. 23 security personnel, all armed with standard pulse rifles. The human, a woman named Kira Voss, stood in the center of the detention bay wearing nothing but their primitive clothing and an expression that can only be described as deeply, profoundly annoyed. This is your final warning, the station commander said in the video. Surrender, or we will open fire. Kira Voss tilted her head. You are going to regret this. They opened fire. Here is where things got weird. The pulse bolts hit her. We could see them connect. The energy signatures registered as direct impacts. Standard pulse rifles deliver enough kinetic force to shatter Thoraxian battle armor. They have been known to punch holes through reinforced bulkheads. This human should have been vaporized. Instead, she brushed off her shoulder like someone had thrown a pebble at her. Okay, she said, cracking her knuckles. My turn. What followed was, and I am choosing my words carefully here, absolutely insane. She moved through that security team like a natural disaster with a personal vendetta. One guard tried to hit her with a shock baton, the kind that can incapacitate a charging Brutusk. She caught it, yanked it out of his hands, and bopped him on the head with it like she was disciplining a misbehaving pet. Bad, she said. No. Another guard activated a neural disruptor. Those things are banned in 7 sectors because they liquefy brain tissue. Kira walked straight through the beam, grabbed the weapon, and crushed it in her hand like it was made of wet paper. Are you people even trying? She asked, sounding genuinely confused. By the time she was done, 23 trained soldiers were unconscious, the detention bay looked like a meteor had hit it, and Kira Voss walked out the front door without a scratch. She even stopped at the vending machine on her way out and grabbed what humans call a candy bar, leaving exact change because apparently even while escaping custody, humans have standards about petty theft. The footage ended. Vraksh looked at each of us in turn. Still think this is funny, Quillix? I did not think it was funny anymore. That was 6 solar rotations ago. Since then, we have tried everything. And I mean everything. The first assault team used kinetic weapons. Bullets, the humans call them. Primitive projectiles that work on simple physics. We shot her approximately 347 times from various angles and distances. She caught several of them. Just plucked them out of the air like insects. The ones that actually hit her bounced off with a metallic ping sound. This is just rude, she yelled at us. Do you know how hard it is to get blood stains out of this jacket? There was no blood. There were no wounds. She was complaining about hypothetical stains. The second team tried plasma cutters. Industrial grade, designed to slice through starship hulls. Kira stood there and let the beam hit her directly in the chest. She looked down at it, looked up at us, and sighed. Really? Plasma? What is this, amateur hour? Then she grabbed the plasma cutter, which was mounted on a mechanical arm because no organic being can hold them without losing limbs, and tossed it over her shoulder like garbage. The third attempt involved gravitational manipulation. We increased the gravity around her to 15 times standard. Most species would be crushed into paste. Kira took 3 steps forward, moving slower than normal but still moving, and commented that it felt like a good workout. You guys have a gym around here? She asked. I could use this for leg day. Leg day. She wanted to use a weapon as exercise equipment. The fourth attempt was chemical warfare. We deployed 17 different nerve agents, corrosives, and biological pathogens. Some of them were so dangerous that we had to evacuate 3 decks just to transport them safely. Kira sneezed twice and asked if anyone had allergies medication. Seriously, what is in the air here? Pollen. Space pollen. Is that a thing? By the 5th attempt, we were getting desperate. Someone suggested black hole compression technology. Vrach actually considered it for a moment before deciding that destroying an entire sector just to neutralize one human was, in his words, possibly excessive. Possibly. That brought us to today. Attempt number 6. The science division had worked around the clock to develop something new, something that had never been tried before. Quantum disintegration. The theory was simple. If we could not destroy her through conventional means, we would simply remove her from existence on a molecular level by breaking down the quantum bonds that held her atoms together. I stood in the observation deck with Vrach and the rest of the command team. Below us, in a reinforced testing chamber that could withstand the explosion of a small star, Kira Voss sat in a chair reading a book. An actual physical book made from processed plant matter. Humans are weird about their entertainment. Target locked, the weapons officer reported. Quantum disintegrator charged and ready. Fire when ready, Vrach commanded. The weapon activated. Energy levels spiked across every monitor. The air itself seemed to vibrate with power. A beam of pure quantum disruption, invisible to most spectrums but registering as a screaming violet on our sensors, lanced down and enveloped Kira Voss completely. For exactly 4 seconds, we thought it worked. The beam held steady. The power readings were nominal. The quantum field was doing exactly what it was designed to do. Then Kira looked up from her book, directly at the observation window. She could not possibly see us through the reinforced shielding, but I swear on my ancestors' molting shells that she made eye contact with me specifically. She stood up. The quantum disintegration beam was still active, still pouring enough energy to unmake a small moon into the space where she existed. She walked through it like it was a mild breeze, climbed the wall using handholds that did not exist for her species' physiology, and knocked on the observation window. Hey, she said, her voice coming through the communication system crystal clear. Can we talk? This is getting ridiculous. Vrach made a sound I had never heard him make before. It was somewhere between a groan and a prayer to deities he did not believe in. Turn it off, he said quietly. Turn everything off. The quantum disintegrator powered down. Kira dropped back to the floor, landed perfectly, and dusted off her pants. Thank you, she said. That was starting to tickle. Tickle. The most powerful weapon we had ever constructed, something that violated 6 different interstellar treaties just by existing, tickled her. Vrach activated the communication panel. What do you want? To go home, Kira said simply. I keep telling you people this. I was just passing through your space. My ship had navigation problems. I stopped at that mining station to ask for directions, and your security team tried to arrest me for illegal entry. Then you tried to vaporize me. Then you tried everything else. I have been very patient, but this is getting old. You injured 23 personnel, Vrach pointed out. I gave them a nap, Kira corrected. They were fine. Check your medical records. Not a single broken bone. I was gentle. She was not wrong. Medical had confirmed that all the security personnel had minor bruising at worst. For someone who could apparently shrug off quantum disintegration, her restraint was noteworthy. If we let you go, Vraksh said slowly, will you leave peacefully? That is literally all I have wanted this entire time, Kira said, throwing her hands up. You are the ones who keep trying to murder me. There was a long silence in the command center. Someone coughed. It might have been me. However, Vraksh continued, and I could see the gears turning in his head, we cannot simply release you without understanding how you have survived our attempts at neutralization. You represent an unknown variable. A threat we cannot quantify. Kira stared at him through the window. Her expression shifted from annoyed to something else. Something calculating. You want to know what I am afraid of, she said. It was not a question. Yes, Vraksh admitted. If such a thing exists. Kira was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the kind of smile that made my secondary heart start pounding. Okay, she said. I will make you a deal. You let me go, give me a ship with working navigation, and I will tell you exactly what scares me. Fair. Vraksh looked at the rest of the command staff. We had spent enormous resources trying to neutralize this one human. We had failed spectacularly at every turn. The logical course of action was to accept her terms, learn what we could, and let her leave before she decided to stop being patient. Agreed, Vraksh said. Kira nodded. Great. Get me that ship, and I will answer your question. 3 hours later, we had prepared a small transport vessel. Nothing fancy, but it had reliable navigation systems and enough fuel to reach the nearest human colony. Kira stood in the docking bay, her few possessions in a small bag, ready to finally leave. Vraksh stood before her, flanked by myself and 2 guards who looked deeply uncomfortable. Not that I blamed them. The ship is ready, Vraksh said. Now. Your end of the bargain. What do you fear? Kira looked at him for a long moment. Then she looked at me. Then at the guards. Her smile returned, and somehow it was even worse than before. Spiders, she said. Silence. Spiders, Vraksh repeated flatly. Yep, Kira confirmed, popping the P sound. Little 8-legged creepy crawlers. Absolutely terrifying. Cannot stand them. You want to neutralize a human? Do not use quantum disintegrators or plasma cutters or black holes. Just put a spider on us. We will lose our minds. I blinked all 3 of my eyes in sequence. You are joking. Nope, Kira said cheerfully. Dead serious. Humans have what we call irrational fears. Mine is spiders. Other humans are afraid of heights, or enclosed spaces, or public speaking. Greg from accounting is terrified of butterflies, but that is a whole different issue. Vraksh's mandibles clicked together in what I recognized as deep frustration. You can survive quantum disintegration, but you fear small arthropods. Hey, I did not say it was logical, Kira said, shrugging. You asked what scares me. That is what scares me. Biology is weird. Evolution is weirder. Human psychology is the weirdest. We are contradictory creatures. We will throw ourselves into danger to save complete strangers, but we will also run screaming from a harmless insect. We build weapons that can destroy planets, then cry when fictional characters die in stories. We are capable of incredible violence and incredible compassion, sometimes in the same afternoon. She picked up her bag and started walking toward the ship. Then she paused and looked back at us. You want my advice, she said. Stop trying to understand humans through military analysis. We do not make sense on spreadsheets. We are not going to fit into your neat categories and threat assessments. We are complicated and messy and frequently ridiculous. And that is exactly what makes us dangerous. She boarded the ship. The airlock sealed. 30 seconds later, the transport undocked and disappeared into the black. I stood there in the docking bay with Vraksh and the guards, trying to process what had just happened. "Sir," I said eventually, "what just happened?" Vraksh was quiet for a long time. Then he turned to me, and I saw something in his eyes I had never seen before. Not fear, exactly. More like the dawning realization that the universe was far stranger and more complicated than any of us had anticipated. "Quillix," he said, "update the human threat assessment." "To what level, sir?" "Category 1, he said. "And add a note. Approach with extreme caution. Do not engage without explicit authorization. And for the love of the ancients, do not make them angry." "Yes, sir," I said. I returned to my station and began updating the files. As I worked, I could not help but think about Kira Voss and her smile and her casual mention of spiders. Somewhere in the galaxy, there was an entire species of beings who could shrug off quantum disintegration but ran from tiny creatures with too many legs. Humans were not just dangerous because they were tough, I realized. They were dangerous because they were unpredictable. Because they operated on logic that made no sense to anyone, including themselves. And that, more than any weapon or ability, was what made them terrifying. I finished the report and sent it to the central database. Within hours, every coalition vessel in this sector would know. Do not mess with humans. Just do not. Somewhere out there, Kira Voss was probably laughing about this entire situation. Probably telling the story to her fellow humans, who would find it hilarious that an entire military force had thrown everything they had at her and failed. And you know what? She earned that laugh. I just hoped we never had to deal with another human again. But knowing our luck, and knowing how the universe works, I had a feeling this was just the beginning. The beginning of understanding that we were not, as we had always believed, at the top of the food chain. We were somewhere in the middle, and the humans were reminding us of that fact, one quantum disintegration at a time. So here is the thing about updating a species to Category 1 threat level. It causes problems. Big problems. The kind of problems that make bureaucrats nervous and politicians start asking uncomfortable questions. 3 days after Kira Voss departed, I was summoned to the Grand Council chambers. Not a request. A summoning. The kind where armed guards show up at your quarters at 0400 hours and politely suggest you come with them immediately. I hate politics. I really, really hate politics. The council chamber was exactly as pretentious as I remembered. Vaulted ceilings that served no functional purpose. Holographic displays showing star maps that nobody actually looked at. 17 species representatives sitting in elevated seats, looking down at whoever had the misfortune of standing in the center circle. That would be me. Lucky, lucky me. High Counselor Threxus, a Voxian with more arms than sense, activated the central podium. Analyst Quillix. You submitted a report reclassifying humans from Category 3 to Category 1. This is, to put it mildly, unprecedented. Yes, Counselor, I said, keeping my voice steady. The evidence supports the reclassification. One human, Threxus said, his voice dripping with skepticism. You encountered one human who proved difficult to neutralize, and you want to elevate an entire species to the highest threat category. The same category we reserve for the Corinthians, who can manipulate gravity with their minds. The same level as the Ashkari, who reproduce by consuming their enemies. With respect, Counselor, Kira Voss survived quantum disintegration. She walked through weapons that should have unmade her on a molecular level. She treated our most advanced military technology like minor inconveniences. And according to her, she is not special. She is just a human. Counselor Miraxis, representing the Tholian collective, leaned forward. Her crystalline features caught the light in a way that made my head hurt. Did she demonstrate any other abilities? Telepathy? Reality manipulation. Temporal displacement. No, counselor. Just extreme durability and strength. But she implied that other humans possess different capabilities. She mentioned someone named Greg who fears butterflies, suggesting variety in human psychology and possibly abilities. Greg, Threxus repeated, like the name personally offended him. You are basing galactic security policy on someone named Greg. I am basing it on observable evidence, I said, trying not to let my irritation show. Humans are unpredictable. They do not follow our standard threat assessment models. They operate on contradictory logic. And that makes them dangerous. The council members murmured among themselves. I caught fragments of conversation. Too hasty. Overreaction. One incident does not establish a pattern. Then Vraksh entered the chamber. He did not wait for permission to speak. He just walked up beside me, all four arms crossed, and stared down the entire council with an expression that could melt hull plating. Counselors, he said, his voice cutting through the murmurs like a plasma blade. With respect, you are making a catastrophic mistake. Threxus bristled. High Commander, your presence was not requested. I do not care, Vraksh said flatly. You are about to dismiss a legitimate threat because it does not fit your comfortable assumptions about how the galaxy works. I have served the Coalition for 32 cycles. I have fought in 17 campaigns. I have faced enemies that would give you nightmares. And I am telling you, right now, that humans are more dangerous than any of them. Because one woman survived your weapons? Miraxis asked. No, Vraksh said. Because she chose not to kill anyone. Think about that. We attacked her repeatedly with lethal force. She had every right, by any standard of self-defense, to respond with equal violence. Instead, she incapacitated our personnel with minimal harm. She showed restraint. And that restraint, counselors, terrifies me more than any weapon. The chamber went silent. Explain, Threxus said quietly. Vraksh pulled up a holographic display. I did some research after Kiravos left. Human history. Their wars, their conflicts, their evolution. Do you know what I found? Humans are persistence hunters. On their homeworld, they do not have natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no armor. So they developed a different strategy. They chase their prey. For hours. For days if necessary. They run their targets into exhaustion and then kill them when they are too tired to fight back. He switched the display to show human soldiers. They apply this same logic to warfare. They do not give up. Ever. There are documented cases of human soldiers continuing to fight with catastrophic injuries that would kill most species instantly. They have a phrase. Second wind. The ability to push past physical limitations through sheer stubborn determination. Another image. Humans in space suits, working on a damaged station. They thrive in environments that would kill us. They eat toxins for pleasure and call it spicy food. They voluntarily jump out of aircraft for entertainment. They keep predators as pets in their homes and call them good boys. Vraksh turned to face the council directly. And most importantly, they have something they call mutually assured destruction. During their atomic age, they built enough weapons to sterilize their own planet several times over. Not to use against other species. Against themselves. They looked at the abyss of total annihilation and said, if we go down, everyone goes down. And it worked. It kept them from destroying each other because they understood that their enemies were just as crazy as they were. He let that sink in for a moment before continuing. Now imagine a species with that mindset gaining access to interstellar technology. Imagine them spreading across the galaxy with their backwards logic and their irrational fears and their absolute refusal to quit. Imagine making enemies of them. Counselor Yurix, who had been silent until now, spoke up. He was old, even by Valian standards, and when he talked, people listened. "What do you propose, High Commander?" "Diplomatic contact," Vrake said immediately. "Establish formal relations. Trade agreements. Cultural exchange. Anything that keeps them as allies instead of enemies. Because I promise you, if we treat them as threats and act accordingly, they will become exactly what we fear." Threxus looked like he had swallowed something unpleasant. "This is highly irregular." "So are humans," I interjected. "That is the point." The council deliberated for exactly 47 minutes. I know because I counted every second while standing in that stupid circle, wondering if my career was about to end because I told the truth about a species that scared spiders. Finally, Threxus spoke. "The council has reached a decision. The human species will be reclassified to Category 1, pending further investigation. High Commander Vrake, you are authorized to establish a diplomatic mission to human space. Analyst Quillix, you will accompany him as Chief Intelligence Officer. Your mission is to learn everything you can about humans and report back with recommendations for future policy." "Oh no. Oh no 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 no. Counselors," I said carefully, with respect, "I am an analyst. I analyze data. I do not do fieldwork. I especially do not do fieldwork with species that can survive quantum disintegration. You have more direct experience with humans than anyone in the coalition," Miraxis said. "You are the logical choice." "I watched one human make fools of us repeatedly," I protested. "That does not qualify me for diplomacy." "Then you will learn," Threxus said with finality. Dismissed. And that is how I ended up on a diplomatic vessel heading toward human space, sitting across from Vrake in the briefing room, contemplating every life choice that had led to this moment. "Stop panicking," Vrake said, not looking up from his data pad. "I am not panicking," I lied. "I am strategically concerned." "You are panicking. Your chromatophores keep shifting to distress colors. You have been purple for the last 20 minutes. I looked down at my arms. He was right. Damn it. What if they are all like Kira Voss? I asked. What if we show up and they decide we are threats and just crush our ship with their bare hands? Then we die, Vrake said calmly. But I do not think they will. Kira Voss had multiple opportunities to kill us. She chose conversation instead. That suggests humans value communication. Or she was toying with us. Possible, Vrake admitted. But unlikely. Everything I have read about humans suggests they are social creatures. They form bonds quickly. They have complex emotional responses. They create art and music and stories. These are not the behaviors of a species that kills for entertainment. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But the memory of Kira walking through quantum disintegration like it was a light shower kept replaying in my mind. We arrived at the human colony of New Terra 5 days later. It was, I had to admit, impressive. Orbital stations that rivaled anything the Coalition had built. Defensive satellites that bristled with weapons I could not identify. And everywhere, ships. Human ships of every size and configuration, moving with practiced efficiency. We were hailed immediately. Unidentified vessel, this is New Terra Traffic Control. State your business. Vrake opened the communication channel. This is High Commander Vrake of the Galactic Enforcement Coalition. We come seeking diplomatic relations with the human government. There was a pause. Then a different voice came through, female and amused. Well, this is interesting. Hang on, patching you through to the diplomatic corps. Another pause. Then a new voice, male this time, speaking in the formal tones of someone who dealt with aliens regularly. High Commander Vrake, this is Ambassador Marcus Webb. Welcome to New Terra. I understand you are here to establish formal relations. Correct, Ambassador. We hope to discuss mutual interests and peaceful cooperation. Wonderful, Webb said, and he sounded genuinely pleased. We have been wondering when someone from the coalition would reach out. Please proceed to docking bay 7. We will have a reception prepared. It was almost too easy. I kept waiting for the trap, for the reveal that this was all some elaborate human trick. But when we docked and disembarked, we were met by a group of smiling humans in formal attire, offering handshakes and refreshments. Ambassador Webb was a tall human with graying hair and laugh lines around his eyes. He greeted Vrakes with a firm handshake and greeted me with a nod of respect. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I hope your journey was pleasant." "Uneventful," Vrakes replied diplomatically. Webb led us through the station, pointing out various features with obvious pride. Markets where humans traded with a dozen different species. Schools where human children learned alongside alien youth. Medical facilities that served anyone who needed them, regardless of origin. "We believe in cooperation," Webb explained. "Humanity spent too long fighting among ourselves. When we finally made it to the stars, we decided to try something different. Building instead of destroying. Learning instead of conquering." "That is admirable," Vrakes said. "Though I must admit, we have concerns about human capabilities. We recently encountered one of your people who proved remarkably difficult to neutralize." Webb stopped walking. He turned to look at Vrakes with an expression that was hard to read. "Neutralize? You tried to kill a human citizen? Oh no. Here it comes. This is where they throw us out an airlock." But then Webb smiled. "Let me guess. Kira Voss." Vrakes blinked. "You know her." "Everyone knows Kira," Webb said, laughing. "She has a reputation for getting into situations." "What did she do this time?" "She survived quantum disintegration," I blurted out. "And plasma cutters. And kinetic weapons. And nerve agents. And gravitational manipulation. And she acted like it was mildly inconvenient." Webb's smile widened. "Yep, that sounds like Kira. Did she mention her fear of spiders?" "Yes," Vrakes said slowly. "And you believed her?" There was a long silence. "Wait," I said. "Are you saying she lied?" "Oh, no, she definitely hates spiders," Webb said. "But the way she tells that story, making it sound like that is humanity's great weakness? That is peak Kira. She loves messing with people." He started walking again, and we hurried to follow. "Here is the thing you need to understand about humans. We are diverse. Incredibly diverse. Kira has enhanced durability, yes. It is a genetic mutation that about 1 in every 50,000 humans develops. We call them anchors. But most humans are not like that. We are fragile. We break easily. We need oxygen and water and food and sleep. We are not super soldiers." "Then why did she survive our weapons?" Vrakes demanded. "Because she is an anchor," Webb said patiently. "They are rare, but they exist. They have been part of our species since before we left Earth. Most of them work in dangerous professions. Rescue operations, deep space exploration, bomb disposal. Jobs where being nearly indestructible is useful." He stopped at a large window overlooking the station's central plaza. Hundreds of humans moved below us, going about their daily lives. Shopping, eating, laughing, arguing. "We are not a threat to the galaxy, High Commander," Webb said quietly. "We are just people. Complicated, messy, sometimes ridiculous people. We have our strengths and our weaknesses. We want the same things everyone wants. Safety for our families. Opportunities for our children. A chance to make our mark on the universe." "But if you were threatened?" Vrakes asked. "If someone tried to destroy you?" Webb turned to look at him. The smile was gone now, replaced by something harder. Something that reminded me uncomfortably of Kira Voss. "Then we would do what humans have always done," he said. We would survive. We would adapt. We would find a way to win. Not because we are invincible, but because we refuse to give up. It is what we do. It is who we are. He let that hang in the air for a moment before his smile returned. But it does not have to come to that. We would much rather be friends. Friends share technology. Friends trade resources. Friends watch each other's backs when the galaxy gets dangerous. And trust me, it is going to get dangerous. What do you mean? I asked. Webb pulled up a holographic display. It showed a region of space far beyond coalition borders. We have been monitoring anomalous readings from this sector. Something big is moving this way. Something that makes the Corinthians look like children playing with toys. We do not know what it is yet, but we know it is coming. And when it arrives, the galaxy is going to need everyone working together to survive. Drake studied the data. His expression grew grim. How long? 2 years, maybe 3, Webb said. Which is why we are very glad you came to talk instead of continuing to shoot at us. We are going to need the coalition. And the coalition is going to need us. I looked at Frakes. He looked at me. We both looked at the holographic display showing whatever nightmare was heading our way. I think, Drake said slowly, that we have much to discuss, Ambassador Webb. I think you are right, Webb agreed. Shall we start with a tour of our defense capabilities? I think you will find our approach to warfare quite interesting. As we followed Webb deeper into the station, I realized something. The Council had sent us here to assess if humans were a threat. But they had asked the wrong question. It was not about whether humans were dangerous. It was about whether they were allies or enemies. And based on what Webb had just shown us, we desperately needed them to be allies. Because if something out there scared the humans, something that made them start preparing for war 2 years in advance, then the rest of us were in serious trouble. I glanced at Frakes. He was already planning. I could see it in his eyes. Strategy, tactics, alliance structures. And me? I was thinking about Kira Voss and her smile and her casual mention of spiders. About how humans used humor to deflect from their real capabilities. About how they built weapons capable of destroying worlds but chose to build schools instead. Humans were not just dangerous because they were tough or strong or stubborn. They were dangerous because they understood something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten. Sometimes the scariest thing is not the monster you can see. It is the one that chooses not to show its teeth until absolutely necessary. And humanity, I was beginning to understand, had very sharp teeth indeed. They just preferred to smile instead.